If you thought the LEGO scandal was done surprising you with twists and turns, you're off your gourd, Buster.
Bricks and Minifigs thought they had the perfect plan. After months of drama with Reckless Ben, they sent Patreon an official takedown request complete with legal documents and demands to remove his content.
Dear creator community, my name is Jack Conti, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Patreon. On May 29th, Patreon received an official takedown request filed by Bricks and Minifigs for media and accounts related to Reckless Ben and an ongoing dispute regarding a local LEGO consignment issue. This is the verified complaint with exhibits. This is the request for immediate content removal pursuant to temporary restraining order. And this is the motion for the temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. So after an extensive review and investigation by Patreon's Trust and Safety team, we have in fact unfortunately determined that Bricks and Minifigs can stuff it. We're keeping Ben's page up. And if Bricks and Minifigs doesn't like that, they can sue us. Patreon out.
And the next day, Bricks and Minifigs has just released a major update on the LEGO scandal that has been dominating conversations in the community, and it completely changes the tone of the story. In a blog post published on June 4th, the company announced that it is officially parting ways with former Salem, Oregon franchise owners Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson. The statement confirms that the Salem store is permanently closed and will not reopen under their ownership. At first glance, this looks like a significant move by Bricks and Minifigs, but when you take a closer look at the reasoning they provide, things get a lot more interesting. According to the company, the decision to separate from Brandon and Josh was driven by what they describe as a devastating social media campaign surrounding the controversy. What's notable, however, is what they don't emphasize. The statement focuses heavily on the online backlash, but spends far less time discussing the allegations, police reports, and questionable actions that many critics have pointed to throughout this ordeal. And that's where the story starts to raise some serious questions. The company's CEO, Ammon McNeff, plays a major role in this new statement. One of the most significant sections includes a direct message to Brian Mansell, offering to sit down, review records together, and potentially resolve the dispute. McNeff even suggests the company is prepared to discuss dropping its lawsuit against Brian and ensuring he is financially compensated for anything that remains unaccounted for. That's a dramatic shift in tone compared to where things stood just weeks ago. For months, the public narrative from Bricks and Minifigs appeared much more defensive. The company consistently maintained that it had done nothing wrong and continued pursuing legal action. Now, suddenly, the conversation has shifted toward reconciliation, compensation, and resolution. So, what changed? According to the blog post, Bricks and Minifigs claims it recently obtained new documentation and evidence that provided a much clearer picture of what happened behind the scenes. The company now says the collection at the center of the controversy was likely worth between $95,000 and $100,000, not the $200,000 figure that was widely discussed earlier. Even more surprising, the company appears to place significant blame on former store owner Crystal Gorman. The statement suggests she may have underpaid Brian for portions of the collection that were sold before the larger dispute exploded into public view. If true, that would add an entirely new layer to an already complicated situation. For a long time, much of the attention was focused on Bricks and Minifigs' corporate leadership, Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson. Now the company seems determined to redirect attention toward decisions made by Crystal, arguing that many of the underlying problems originated there. The blog post also revisits the controversial issue of consignment. Bricks and Minifigs maintains that the agreement involving Brian's collection was unauthorized and violated company policy. However, that remains one of the most disputed aspects of the entire case. Various documents have surfaced that appear to contradict one another, with some suggesting consignment arrangements were allowed under certain circumstances while others indicate the opposite. Because of those conflicting records, the issue remains far from settled. But regardless of where someone stands on the consignment debate, one question continues to linger. Why did it take this long to reach this point? If the company now has enough information to pursue a resolution, many observers are wondering why those conversations didn't happen months ago, before the lawsuits, before the public outrage, and before the story spread across social media. That's one of the biggest challenges facing Bricks and Minifigs right now. The timing makes this new approach difficult for some people to ignore. Critics argue that the company only became willing to compromise after the controversy began damaging its reputation. Supporters, meanwhile, may view the statement as evidence that Bricks and Minifigs is finally taking corrective action after uncovering new information. Either way, the shift is undeniable. The company has gone from aggressively defending its position to publicly offering compensation, discussing the possibility of dropping legal action, and acknowledging that key details of the story may not have been understood correctly from the beginning. What exactly was discovered during this new investigation? How much responsibility falls on Crystal Gorman? Why are Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson being separated from the franchise if the focus is now shifted elsewhere? And perhaps most importantly, will Brian Mansell finally receive a resolution after all this time? For now, Bricks and Minifigs appears eager to move forward and put this controversy behind them.